Good evening. I'm Sean Roman, pinch hitting for Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I'm Anthony Strait.
And this is On the Sports Lines, the Midsummer Classic Edition. The All-Star Game. The 2016 MLB All-Star Classic will be played on Tuesday, July 12th at Petco Park in San Diego. So it's a perfect time for our annual baseball mid-season report. We're going to look at the Yankees and the Mets and the rest of Major League Baseball as they head into their break. We'll also weigh in on Kevin Durant and his move from Oklahoma City to Golden State. As always, we would absolutely love to hear from you. So email us at fanSpeak@onthesportslines.com. Send your tweets to @onthesportslines and your posts to facebook.com/onthesportslines. Should we bring it back? Maybe we'll read them on the show one day, Jay?
Yeah, just for you, Sean, we'll bring it back.
Okay. With the All-Star break less than a week away, the Yankees are currently under 500, 41-43. 8 games behind the Orioles in the AL East. Time to review the state of the team, and let's start with my man Anthony. Anthony, who has been the pleasant surprise for the Yankees?
Well, it's hard to overlook Carlos Beltran at the age of 39 years old. Kind of tapping back into his old Kansas City Royals, Houston Astros, New York Mets days.
Yes.
And kind of playing back to the future. But he's been by far the Yankees' best player. You look at his stats, he's batting .297, 19 home runs, which is in the top 10 among outfielders. And he's got 54 RBIs. He has been by far the best player. Part of it is because he's playing DH a lot more, which has Alex Rodriguez riding the pine a little bit, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yes, we will.
But when you look at his RBIs, 53, that's 13th highest. And only a couple months ago became just the third Puerto Rican-born player for 400 home runs. He has added up to a Hall of Fame career. This is the hottest stretch he's had since 2006 or 2008 when he was a member of the Mets. When he averaged 34 home runs over 100 RBIs those 3 seasons. So he's by far been the Yankees' best player.
Steve, go the opposite end. Who's been the major disappointment for the Yankees?
Well, no question, although they've had a lot of disappointments, has to be Nathan Eovaldi.
Yeah.
This guy last season, who they acquired from the Marlins, was 14-3. And he was arguably the Yankees' best pitcher the second half of last year. You look at what he's doing this year, I believe he's 6-6 with an ERA over 6. And a guy who throws 100 miles an hour with the stuff that he has, you're amazed that he can't strike hitters out. His fastball is absolutely flat, breaking pitches to have virtually no movement whatsoever. And it's been so bad that now he's been banished to the bullpen in favor of Chad Green, who, by the way, looks very impressive. I've seen a couple of his starts, but he's been awful, Nathan Eovaldi.
Jay, I want to ask you, you're a huge Yankee fan.
Yes, sir.
You love following the team. As we approach the trade deadline, should they be buyers or sellers? And if you could just throw in, are you excited about this team?
I'm not excited about this team. They are I said to you guys on the baseball preview show, I expected them to be exactly what they are. On paper, this is a 500 team that realistically does not have a good chance of getting the second AL wild card. They're currently about 5 games back. So honestly, they should be sellers. And I think the only thing that will stop them from doing that is because of the Steinbrenner's ego, who can't accept the team being in a rebuild mode. The Yankees are supposedly they're taking offers for Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman out of their bullpen starters, Michael Pineda, Ivan Nova, and even Nathan Eovaldi. Brian McCann's they're taking offers for him, for Brett Gardner, and Carlos Beltran. And if they do move either Miller or Chapman, and I would happen to agree with ESPN's Buster Olney that they should go all in, move as many of these guys as possible. Cashman said on Olney's podcast that he's basically entertaining offers. If GMs are interested, they should call him. If they have serious offers, he will take them to ownership. Chapman, I think, No. Cashman, rather.
Okay.
He wants to unload this team and start over.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that's stopping him is the ego of the Steinbrenners.
All right, guys, there's been absolutely a lot of talk in the media about A-Rod. I want to ask my panel, is he done? And consider into your analysis that he's on 695 home runs. Jay?
Honestly, I have to say yes. I mean, he's no longer playable in the field, and his numbers against right-handed pitching, 203, 237, 341, make him unplayable as a full-time DH. And honestly, guys, in the AL, you can't be a part-time DH.
No.
Steve?
And he's done for me too. I mean, except for the occasional home run, he has 8 this year. He's hitting around 220. What he did last year is what you expect your DH to do. He hit 250, but he had over 30 home runs last year. And he really looks lost at the plate. And I think maybe now it's time for him to say adios.
Yep.
I actually go the opposite way. I
Really?
think he's still got a little bit of juice left. If I'm the Yankees, for $21 million, I want to get every last ounce of Alex Rodriguez that's left.
Wow.
His batting average rose 40 points over the last month from 188 to 220. He has 8 home runs. And it's hard to get into a rhythm when you don't have playing time, and he needs that. So I respect him. If he can get more playing time, we've seen A-Rod get hot. Who knows?
Who knows?
All right,
Hey.
let's turn to the New York Mets, who stand at 46 wins and 38 losses. They are 4 games behind the NL East leading Nationals. And to help us review the state of the team, we are thrilled to welcome back to the show Greg Prince, who writes the Mets blog Faith and Fear in Flushing. Welcome back, Greg.
Hey, fellas, how are you?
Greg,
Greg.
we're going to
Good.
start you off with a question from Steve.
Hi, Greg. It's Steve Ferguson. My question to you as a Met fan is, who's been the most pleasant surprise for the Mets in the first half?
I think I like the double play combination of Asdrubal Cabrera and Neil Walker. I really wasn't sure what to expect out of either one of them, and I think they've clicked very well. Daniel Murphy is having an incredible season in Washington. There's nothing we can do about that, but Walker has held his own at second, and Cabrera has made all the plays at short, had more power than I would have imagined, and that they have both been in there practically every day. So in a sea of change, they have been the constants pretty much from the beginning of the year. So that's been good to see.
Anthony, would you like to take a shot?
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey.
My question to you is the exact opposite. Who has been the major disappointment for the Mets in the first half of the season?
Oh, for a team that, as we speak, is 8 games over 500, that's a very expansive question. Unfortunately, I think because of injury, you'd have to look at Matt Harvey not being Matt Harvey.
Yeah.
You'd have to look at David Wright not playing and probably not back for the year. And from a non-injury standpoint, as far as we know, Michael Conforto, who had the fantastic April and was being compared favorably, at least in terms of the numbers he had put up in X number of plate appearances in his career, to Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, unfortunately is now in Las Vegas, trying to get back his stroke, get back his eye, whatever it was that deserted him in May and June. So been a number of disappointments, actually, but somehow they've held it together.
Hey, Greg, it's Jay. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Jay.
So I've been hearing a lot of talk lately about Brandon Nimmo, who's a recent call-up from the PCL. He's been given a lot of hype, gotten B's as overall grades every stop up the ladder. Mets are saying that this is the outfield prospect they've been waiting for, not only for the last 5 years since he was drafted, but basically for the last 20 years. What separates the hype from the reality for me is what is this guy going to bring to the table, and is he an answer for the Mets in the outfield?
Well, it's a small sample size
Yes.
to date, but he certainly appears to have the tools. We've seen a little bit of power so far. We have seen what is the word I'm looking for? There's a phrase they use in New Orleans to describe the kind of ebullience he's shown, and it's getting me at the moment. But let's say he enjoys playing. His joy is infectious. He's got a good left-handed bat. I think he has the skill, the athletic skill in the outfield to make up for what is less than a smooth approach to the ball.
Right.
He seems to have a little bit of speed, He is a tantalizing prospect because we have waited so long to see him. I mean, they took him out of high school where there wasn't really a lot of competitive baseball in Wyoming to begin with, so I think that probably added to the wait. He ran into some injuries. And again, like I said, we were looking at Conforto as the outfield answer 3 months ago, and now we're talking about a whole different guy. Hopefully they will be flanking Cespedes for a couple of years or flanking somebody in center field, perhaps.
All right.
I feel good about him, though.
Okay.
All right, now I have a question for you. I know you are an absolutely huge Met fan, as Jay is a Yankee fan, so I want to ask a question that goes into your passion for the team. At this point in the season last year, as opposed to this point in the season this year, what's your difference in outlook towards the team?
Last year felt as if no matter what happened, and remember, at this point, a year ago, they were still kind of finding themselves. They had made the leap from being just a lousy team to being a team that needed more hitting, but you could tell was at least in a race, and this was before they took off.
Right.
This year, the expectations are different, and you just come at everything differently when you're assuming you're going to have a pretty good team, which is what was reasonable to assume coming in, and it's still reasonable because, you have enough pitching, you have enough hitting. They've done some nice plugging of holes. So I think you're just a little more circumspect a year later. And by the way, the phrase I wanted was joie de vivre.
Joie de
That's
vivre.
what Brandon has. So
Yes.
to answer 2 questions ago.
All right, Greg, thank you so much. I hope to see the Mets in the playoffs. That's Greg Prince from Faith and Fear in Flushing. His latest book, amazing again, How the 2015 New York Mets Brought the Magic Back to Queens, is available at bookstores everywhere. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, to say it's been an interesting first half of the 2016 baseball season would be an understatement. We're going to take a look at both the best and worst as we head into the All-Star break. Let's start off with a big baseball fan, Jay. On their heels of their recent winning streak are the Indians from Cleveland, now the favorites in that league.
Their 14-game winning streak in the wake of the Cavs NBA title pushed them into the conversation as they now have the second best record in the American League. Yes, they have one of the best rotations in the American League. 3 of their starters in the top 10 in ERA. Danny Salazar's 2.22 is number 1, and that's even with ace Corey Kluber having a middling 8-8 and 379 start. During the winning streak, their starters had a 183 RA and a 174 batting average against. Yes, rookie Tyler Naquin is having a solid first half, 314, 377, 564, with 40% of his hits going for extra bases. And yes, shortstop Francisco Lindor has given the middle finger to the sophomore slump, 299, 355, 449, leading the team in stolen bases, run scorers, and web gems at shortstop. Yeah, Mike Napoli's found his power stroke again. He has 17 dingers, and Carlos Santana has practically matched him with 18. However, their bullpen is in the middle of the AL, and their bench is a little thin with Marlon Byrd getting suspended and Michael Brantley still battling injuries. And there's this little team in Texas that has the best record in the American League, hits just as well, is managing to run out of solid rotation despite missing Yu Darvish, Colby Lewis, and Derek Holland at the moment, and has a bullpen that's more shut down despite closer Sean Tollison losing his job to Sam Dyson. In the conversation, absolutely. Favorite? I'm not ready to anoint them just yet.
A lot of points from Jay Kaplan right there, I have to say.
definitely.
All right, Steve, let's turn to you in the National League.
Okay.
At this point right now, we heading into the All-Star break. Are the Cubs still the National League favorites?
I would say they are, but there's a bit of a caveat I'll add to that.
Yeah.
Their lineup is unbelievable. You've got guys like Chris Bryant, 25 home runs, Anthony Rizzo with 20, Ben Zobrist, who I believe has 12 already, and then you've got Javier Baez with 9 and Dexter Fowler, who has 10. This lineup can flat out hit.
Yeah.
I know the Mets swept them, but trust me, this team has a great offensive ball club. What they are missing, even though they have very good starting pitching, you have to like their starters, but I think they're missing one more pitcher. Now, whether that's a reliever, maybe it's an Aroldis Chapman, or maybe a starting pitcher. And I have a starter I think would be very good for this team. It's a guy who pitches for the San Diego Padres. A lot of people don't know who this is. but his name is Drew Pomerantz. This is a left-hander, 7-7 with an ERA just around 3, has one of the best knuckle curves I've seen since Bert Hooton, and throws pretty good fastball, and he's a tough guy to hit. The Yankees had trouble with him, the Mets have had trouble with him, and the league has had trouble with him. He'd be a great guy for them to pick up.
Nobody else would make a Bert Hooton reference.
You're right about
Anthony,
that.
I'd like to ask you, who do you think is the most disappointing Major League Baseball team?
You know what? For the expectations for the offseason moves, you got to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yes.
I mean, they spent $206 million and threw it at Zach Greinke. They traded for Shelby Miller, who had a good season last year with Atlanta. And you add that with Paul Goldschmidt, A.J. Pollock, and you also make the deal for Segura from Milwaukee, who's actually batting 300. He's actually doing okay.
308.
But Pollock goes down, season-ending injury. He fractures his elbow on a freakish play at home plate during spring training. Miller has been a complete bust.
Yes.
He's 2-9. ERA is at 7. Greinke's on the disabled list. He was pitching well, 10-3, ERA just above 3, but he's on the disabled list with oblique muscle. But here's the thing that bugs me with this team. For the outrageous uniforms, by the way, they're 15-32 at home.
That's ridiculous.
The absolute
That is
worst
ridiculous.
record at home record of all baseball. Here's another thing. Their outfield platooning, they were defensive runs +7 save. This year, -30.
That'll do
Wow.
So they're just the latest team to win the offseason and be a complete bust during the season.
it. There you go.
Yeah. Wow.
Basketball free agency began on July 1st, and the contracts handed out to players changing teams have been off the charts.
To say the least.
But the biggest star-changing team is one that almost everyone figured would stay put. Perennial All-Star, former MVP Kevin Durant, left the only team he's ever known, the Oklahoma City Thunder, for the two-time Western Conference champion Golden State Warriors, shocking players, fans, and media alike. Anthony, is Durant going to the Golden State Warriors good or bad for basketball?
If you're a fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder, it's bad. Because you have just lost the cornerstone to your franchise, a guy who helped put that team and franchise on the map and made Oklahoma City a basketball town without question. If you're a fan of the other teams, you're crying not fair, you're crying coward, you're hating the whole thing. You're going back to the whole, if Magic and Larry Bird and Jordan didn't go places. First off, for the people out there who use that argument, when you're drafted to already good teams like Magic and Bird,
You don't need to leave.
and you have good people, and you have a front office that put compliment pieces around you like Jordan, you don't have to go anywhere. It's basically like, why would you go out for takeout food when the buffet comes to your front door?
There you go.
But besides that point, if you're the NBA, you absolutely love this. This is like Hulk Hogan joining the New World Order. You have a villain everybody hates. You have already on Facebook, the Kevin Durant replica jerseys are on sale now. The sales gonna go through the roof. Remember what the Miami Heat was when that big three got together?
Yep.
They were rock stars. They basically attracted a large crowd. The ratings are gonna go up. If you're Adam Silver, you're doing cartwheels in the front office on Fifth Avenue. You cannot wait for the season to start. It's bad for the fan, great for the NBA because it's business as usual.
All right. How about you, Steve? What's
You
your
know,
thoughts?
For me, I don't have a problem with it. I actually think this is good because, look, when you looked at the Miami Heat years ago and when they picked up LeBron James and Chris Bosh, if you didn't like that team, you really despised them even more for getting these guys. Now, if you look at Golden State, here's the difference. Golden State only won one championship 2 years ago.
I agree.
And prior to that, it was 40 years.
Right.
So to me, why not have, if you can get another great player to play with Curry and Thompson, make your team that much better?
It's almost like building up the Timberwolves in a way. Yeah. Just like some random franchise has gotten very lucky.
And he brings different dimensions to that team. He's a great shooter, as we all know. He's a great rebounder, but he also at 6'11" can actually bring the ball up court. And so that's going to open up their game even more. But I think, look, if you're going to have to play the Cavaliers again, you definitely need as many reinforcements as you can get. Why not have Durant?
Jay.
You know, I'm the guy on the last show who said Durant was most likely going back to OKC, so
Yes.
I didn't see this whole if you can't beat him, join him
did.
thing happening. As far as it being good or bad for the NBA, I think we have to accept the fact that this is just how it is now.
Yes.
I mean, the NBA has always been a star-driven league, and I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon.
No.
The best players in the league want two things. They want rings, and they want to get paid. And in this
Yep.
day and age, they no longer have to wait for the GM to fill out, to draft players and bring them in to fill them around them. They can use their free agency to better their chances by joining a team that already has the players that can help them win a ring. Kevin
right.
Durant simply did what anyone in any other profession tries to do. Find the best professional situation possible. One that gives you the pay you want, the benefits you want, the perks you want, and the atmosphere you want. And to guys like Stephen A. Smith bashing him for this, you're a freaking hypocrite. Get over yourself.
That's
yes,
right.
the Western Conference just lost a title contending team in OKC because they're going to struggle, next season and beyond. These things go in cycles. Somewhere along the line, somebody else is going to pull a Durant, and another new contender out west is going to replace OKC in that pipeline.
Yeah.
Look, guys, at the end of the day, here's the bottom line. This is the new NBA. Get used to it.
And another
right.
bottom line is it is called free agency.
Yes.
It's
That's
the ability
right.
of the player to define their own destiny and go where they want it.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
beholden to
No.
any particular
Exactly.
team anymore.
Kind of like Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, by the way,
yes,
by the way,
exactly.
if you're a LeBron James hater, you're having the worst summer ever. You want to win a championship, and the very argument you held against him for 6 years, he got to go win championships with other stars.
Yeah.
Guess what? Kevin Durant did the same thing. How is that different from Shaq?
Yeah.
How is it different from Charles Barkley? It's called free agency. The only
Yeah.
time
Yeah, it's
as a
free
player
agency.
you get to actually choose your employer.
I got to ask you guys, who was surprised by Wade leaving Miami to go to Chicago?
I was stunned.
I
You
was
want-
somewhat surprised.
I wasn't because he's
completely.
at the end of his career.
And where's he want to go? He wants to go home.
He wants to go home.
Because honestly, at this point, the trust he had with the Heat was busted.
Yes.
Whatever they promised him, they didn't deliver on,
No.
at least as far as he was concerned.
And he had a good run. There's
And he
no
had a good
shame
run.
in that.
No, years he played
He
for
wants
that
to finish
team.
his career
Feelings.
at home. He won his titles. He
right.
He got his accolades. It's his last contract.
By the way,
Why
Jay,
not go home?
By the way,
not
Jay,
go
before
home?
the show, I ask you a question. We talk about athletes and their loyalty. What happens when you are loyal and the team you're loyal to doesn't return in return?
Yeah.
Doesn't give it back
Latest
in return?
exhibit. This
And
is
Dwayne
it.
Wade is a
Dwayne
perfect
Wade.
example. Pat Riley was so enamored with Kevin Durant. He gave Hassan Whiteside all
A
this money.
ridiculous contract.
Dwayne Wade has been taking pay cut after pay cut after pay cut, I think he just overestimated Dwayne Wade wanting to stay. Dwayne Wade
Yeah.
took it as an insult and just said, "Sayonara, I'm going home."
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
done with
so-
this.
All right,
blame him.
guys. Now I can ask any observations on the Euro. I fit it in. Jay,
got it
what
in.
do you got? Nobody has anything.
Got it in.
That music,
You got stuff for us later.
Yes.
that music right there means it's time for the 3-minute warning. Anthony, go first.
Back in January, ESPN officially named Jessica Mendoza a full-time member of the Sunday Night Baseball broadcasting team. It didn't matter that she became the first woman to call a game for the network, nor that she called Jake Arrieta's no-hitter. It didn't matter that she won gold and silver in the Olympics for softball. The internet trolls and cavemen just couldn't get past the idea of a woman calling professional baseball games on such a national platform. Mendoza heard all the sexist comments and vile Twitter remarks, and she answered it the best way possible, with an enthusiastic smile and a dedicated professionalism. Balancing the roles of announcer and motherhood, Mendoza has excelled in her first full season at the mic. From her insights into how a pitcher and hitter approach each at-bat to doing tape segments for the broadcast, Mendoza is a welcome addition to the broadcasting world. It's about time we remove gender from the idea of who can be part of America's pastime.
Yes, sir.
Baseball isn't just for those who play the game, but it's for anyone who simply loves the game. And Jessica Mendoza's response to critics has been the biggest example of all.
Truth.
End of an era in Oklahoma City. Durant's departure. Hey, Charles Barkley, what the hell were you talking about when you said Kevin Durant is cheating for a championship? Funny, nobody said boo when you teamed up in Houston with the likes of Hakeem Olajuwon and Scottie Pippen in an effort to win a championship for the Rockets.
Nope.
Maybe you're jealous because Curry, Durant, and Thompson have a better chance of winning that coveted prize. Or maybe you're bitter. But the real bitterness lies in Oklahoma City, where Durant has departed and gone west and has a chance to accomplish a feat that you never did. Reality bites. And 9 years with only one NBA final is enough. If you're a Golden State Warrior hater, rev up the spite the same way I did when the Heat acquired LeBron and Bosh. Deal with it. It's the new NBA.
Yep.
Now the superpowers are raining down on Oklahoma City, and the Thunder's success has vanished with it.
To me, July 4th has always been about family barbecues, fireworks displays, general celebrating of our country's birthday, and baseball. Maybe because it's our national pastime, but baseball has always seemed to go hand in hand with patriotism. The sport's never been shy about it, and it's been amped up ever since 9/11. From supporting veterans charities and military support organizations to honoring servicemen and women at games, MLB has always worked with our military to say thank you to those who serve so we can live the American way of life. This year, MLB went above and beyond. They built a 12,500-seat ballpark from the ground up at the Fort Bragg Army Base so the soldiers stationed there could watch the Marlins and Braves play a regular season game on July 3rd. ESPN even televised it as their Sunday night baseball game. Now, there was a little controversy as noted ball hawk and memorabilia hunter Zach Hempel somehow got into the stadium, got 11 of the commemorative balls, and then crowed about it on Twitter. He was vehemently shouted down by the Twitterverse, led by the 82nd Airborne Division, who told Hempel in no uncertain terms to delete his account. The 82nd is the largest unit housed at Fort Bragg. Now, cynics called the whole affair nothing more than an MLB publicity stunt writ large. Now, maybe it was, but the soldiers and players enjoyed meeting each other, and the appreciation they had for each other was real. It was a positive experience neither will soon forget. Doesn't get any more red, white, and blue than that.
Watching the Copa America and the Euro has made me ponder. Where do we place Lionel Messi and even Cristiano Ronaldo in the conversation of the all-time greats? Their statistics and club success is really astounding, but there is simply nothing comparable in all sports when it comes to soccer players wearing their national jerseys. Erudite critics have often noted and written that this is the nearest proxy society has to actual war. This is why you have to leave Messi and Ronaldo a notch below at least two players. Pelé from Brazil, Maradona from Argentina. Pelé is the apex of the sport. Being the only player to win 3 World Cups is a position tough to argue against.
True.
But even Maradona is separated from Messi and the rest of the modern greats, mostly by reason of his efforts in 1986, when he played with this drive and visible passion that propelled Argentina to its last World Cup victory. Also separating Pelé and Maradona is their beginnings in abject poverty. Pelé learned the game of soccer with a ball made from a stuffed sock filled with newspaper. And Maradona playing day after day as a youngster in the slums of Argentina. There is no shame in not being among the soccer gods. So Messi, Ronaldo, and the rest of the gang still have to recognize that the only way to reach that status is to win in 2 years in Russia. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Anthony Strait, I am Sean Roman, and thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. We hope to see you again on July 21st for another edition of On the Sports Lines. And remember, if you want to see this show again or catch up on any of those that you missed, please check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines. And where should they look at our blog?
onthesportslines.blogspot.com.
Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Viva la France!
You got the Euros in, Sean.
He sure did.